Guys, Hippopotamus here, and today I'm going to be showing you a Heartbreaker Eagle Bearer build. A couple of disclaimers before we start, just to save wasting anybody's time. I am using a raid exclusive weapon. Now this can be found in the DZ when the targeted loot is assault rifle, but has a 1% drop rate, I'm pretty sure. And the other thing is just that I'm level 10,000. So if you're not at least a level 1,000, your wristwatch levels are going to give you less crit chance, crit damage, headshot damage, etc., etc. So this build might not work the same way for you if you don't have wristwatch level 1,000. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's look at the specialization. And I'm using the gunner. So what I'll do is I'll just stop on the main things that are going to help us. The riot foam grenades can stick enemies down, give us a window of damage, especially if chungers are pushing forward, things like that. It's going to help a little bit. We have the incessant talent, which gives us 10% armour on kill. Quite useful. It's not bad, but it's sort of noteworthy. It'll keep us topped up while we're getting kills. The coupler talent is quite nice, giving us extra reload speed. Again, we aren't using weapons that take a long time to reload, but it can be helpful, so worth sort of noting. The medkit is very, very useful. It has a synergizing talent with giving us bonus armor, and because we do get bonus armor off our gear set, this is going to give us a way of gaining even more bonus armor should we need it if we were in a pinch, but it's quite useful. One of the main items that we really need is the Banshee Pulse. This is going to do two things for us. It's not only going to stun human enemies, but what it will also do is it will also pulse enemies that we can't shoot in the head. We have Supply Line, which is going to regenerate some of our ammo. Quite useful, but nothing too noteworthy as we're not using weapons with super high fire rates. Barrage is quite helpful, giving us 5% fire rate on a kill for 5 seconds, which is helpful. It's a little bit of extra DPS. And the other really important one here is emplacement. Now, remember I said about weapon handling being important, but weapon handling is going to be something that we're going to be stacking up here. So with this build, you're going to keep hearing weapon handling, and I will show you as we get to each point. And this will help us with our reload speed, accuracy, stability, and swap speed. All really important stuff. The skill tree here also has synergizing weapons with the shotgun and the assault rifle. Let's go take a look at the build and go through it all. So, to start off with, I'm using the Rock and Roll, which is an AA12 variant. You could use a lefty if you so please, or you could even use an AA12, failing to have either of those. The main thing is this is the way that we get stacks quickly, because each shot that we fire, it fires like 8 pellets. Each one of those 8 pellets will give us a stack. So this is much faster than just shooting one of our guns that shoots 1 bullet at a time, even if it is automatic. I'll show this when we get to the range anyway. So the main things to know is that mine is rolled with shotgun damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover. Excuse me. So we also have the talent on here, which is the important one, which is perfectly extra. This gives us 50% extra magazine capacity, and that will take the drum from 20 to 30 rounds. Plus, you'll notice that we've got an extra 3. That is because of a piece of Zuada, I hope I'm saying that right. Gives us an extra 15%. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Firstly, I'm using the Eagle Bearer, and what I really want to point out is there's a few things here. I don't normally show attachments. However, in this case, it is directly important to show you what attachments we've got. The Eagle Bearer has some things that will help us. So we have crit chance and crit damage on the sight and the muzzle. But we also have 10% weapon handling, again, weapon handling, on the grip, which is going to help us quite a bit. And we are stacking this, so this is something that we're chasing. So with the Eagle Bearer, we also have the talent, which is Eagle Strike. Accuracy increases continuously, with continuous fire, up to 30%. So as long as you don't take your finger off the trigger, the accuracy will increase, as long as you're continuously firing. So headshot kills grant the tenacity buff for 15 seconds, and the strength of that tenacity buff is increased by 1% for body shots and 5% for headshots. So the tenacity buff can range anywhere from 40 to 80%, And what this will do is 40 to 80% of the damage taken during the buff will be delayed until it expires. And what's going to happen is all of the total delayed damage is reduced for each enemy you kill. And if you kill 3 enemies within that time, 100% of that damage that was taken in the 80% 40 to 80% range will be mitigated. Now, one thing I would like to say here is one big gripe with the Eagle Bearer is that people say it's near impossible to get the 3 kills. So this build is going to help us mitigate the fact that we might not always be able to get the 3 kills. And additionally on that note, there's something that people say is the weapon handling on this gun, the accuracy and stability is god awful and is hard to get your shots on target. So that is something again that we've tried to fix through this build. For my pistol, I've just gone with the TDI card. This has pistol damage to be expected and the skill tier. We also have the talent preservation. So, if we kill an enemy with a headshot, we gain 20% of our armor. If not, we just get 10 over 5 seconds. But we are stacking headshot damage and sort of crit chance, crit damage. So this is fairly easy to do. If we're in a bit of a pinch, we can just pull out our pistol and gain some extra armor back too. So the way that I'm going to explain this build is I'll start off with the exotic piece, then move on to the brand set, and then do the gear set last. Okay? So we are using the Catharsis for the mask, and this comes rolled with armor, incoming repairs, and armor regen. It has an in-slot mod of headshot damage. The talent is very useful to us because what this does is it basically builds up stacks. So as we take damage up to a cap of 30, we gain 1.5% weapon damage. So increasing our weapon damage by 35% at the total amount. And once we've reached that cap, what's going to happen is we're going to trigger a purge. Now what this is going to do is it's going to remove all status effects, so any status effects that were under at the time will be removed, and then it's going to drop a healing cloud on the floor, which heals you for 5% of your max armor over 10 seconds, so up to 50% of our armor as long as we stay in that healing cloud. Useful piece. So, onto the gloves. Again, I really hope I'm not butchering this. These are the Eagle's Grasp, and I believe it's Zuada, and this gives us magazine size. This will increase our rock and roll, well, all of our weapons really, by 15%. So this is going to give us extra bullets in the magazine, which is useful. This is rolled with a core attribute of armor and has weapon handling. Again, there's that weapon handling note. So up to now, we are stacking 15% here. We have 10% from standing still and 10% from the weapon when we have the attachment on the Eagle Bearer. So if we stand still, have the Eagle Bearer and this glove, we're looking at 35% weapon handling to start off with. We also have a roll of crit hit damage. So I'll go on to the gear set and talk about that. So we're using 4 pieces of Heartbreaker, so we might as well go through this now, and then it will make the backpack and the chest piece much easier to explain as we do that. So when we wear 2 pieces of this, we gain 15% assault rifle damage and 15% LMG damage. We don't use an LMG in this case, but it doesn't matter. Third piece is, ding ding ding, the all-important weapon handling that we're chasing because of the EB. This gives us another 15%. So, should we be holding the EB, standing still, and have these pieces equipped, effectively what we're going to get is 15 from the glove, 15 from the 3-piece, which is 30, and then we're going to get 10 and 10 from standing still and the gun, which is giving us up to 50% weapon handling, which is really going to help with the Eagle Bearer's poor aim and accuracy. So on the 4-piece we have the talent Heartstopper, and what this is going to do is headshots apply a pulse for 5 seconds, and when we hit those pulsed enemies we're going to add a stack of 1% bonus armor and 1.1% bonus damage to pulsed enemies, up to a max of 50 stacks, and you will lose 2 stacks for each second that goes by that you're not continuously adding to that bonus. So the talent is increased max BPM, and what it does is it increase your max stacks from 50 to 100. Okay. So we'll go on to the backpack, and we'll see that this is rolled with armor, crit hit damage, and a headshot mod. Okay. It also has the talent Cold, And what this is going to do is, instead of getting 1% per stack of bonus armor, we're going to get 2%, so giving us double. For the holster and the knee, we are just using the 3 and 4 piece of the Heartbreaker, and they are both rolled with 170,000 armor and headshot damage. Great. So just before we move on to the skills, one thing to note. You may note that it's a bit messy here. Look, headshot damage, crit damage, and headshot damage. Crit damage, headshot damage. So what is that all about? We will see when we get there. I want to talk about that when we get to the stat sheet, but just note that there is a reason for us chasing headshot and crit damage together. So I'll talk about that once we get to the stat sheet. For our skills, we're using the Gunner Pulse. As previously discussed, stuns enemies that are human, and enemies that we can't stun. If we fire this pulse at them, it's going to allow us to build Heartbreaker stacks because they are pulsed. And some enemies, like robotic dogs and the drones, don't have a headshot box to shoot at, so won't allow you to pulse them with the weapon. We're also using a shield because we will be playing a little bit risky. We've got a tier 6 shield because we are all blue cores, and we have health stacked into the mods right across the board, as well as a 5% damage bonus per enemy in front of us, just to help us a little bit with damage. And then we have, again, the riot foam grenades, which we talked about. We can use these to throw at chungers, slow them down a little bit, and just get a damage window and a way to build more stacks while slowing the enemy down a little bit. So that's it for the build there. Let's go to the range and look at the stat sheet, but all importantly before we do, let's just check. Hey ho, we're on heroic. Benchmarking is good. So, the stat sheet. Again, perfectly extra ammo. Eagle Strike is good. Now, the tenacity buff. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because, like I said, a lot of people find it difficult to get those 3 kills, and what that's going to mean is that you're going to still take some of the damage that was delayed. So, with Heartbreaker, we gain bonus armor, and with the Catharsis Mask, we also drop healing on the floor. So we have 2 ways to mitigate against that delayed damage as it comes in, because we'll either have bonus armor, or we could potentially have a source of healing thrown down on the floor for us that we can just stand in and mitigate against it. Okay, so what I want to do is just take a look at the stats here, and this is the other important part. Again, on the rock and roll, I've just used crit chance, and you'll see that it's low, but we have reasonably high headshot. Now, the reason that we showed off the attachments on the Eagle Bearer is because we have 25% crit chance, and you may not understand how we get there. With us being an all blue build, 25% crit chance I don't feel is too bad, and the fact that we have 101% crit damage and 125% headshot damage. Now, some people might say, Hippo, why are you doing that? Why are you not just going all headshot damage? And that is a perfectly reasonable and understandable question to ask. My answer is this. Not every enemy in PvE has a head. So robotic dogs, as we've discussed, and the drones, other things, don't have a head. So the minute that is the case, all that headshot damage that you've stacked up and put all your eggs into one basket, all of a sudden it's can become completely wasted. So having some crit chance and crit damage is going to benefit us, and we can do such a thing as get a crit headshot. So nothing's really wasted here, but it's going to give us the ability that if we have to body shot or we have to shoot at an enemy that doesn't have a head, we're not losing too much. Okay, so that's my explanation. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So we're going to see that damage across the board is fairly low, but this is why we're using Heartbreaker, as the stacks will give us extra damage. We have both the chest and backpack talents from the Heartbreaker and Vicious Cycle to give us that extra damage and stacks. We're using Heartbreaker, Zuada, and the Catharsis Mask. We have just a little under 2 million, and I am expertise rank 12. That is using no exotic components, so it's achievable for most players, and it's given us a little under 2 million, so quite nice. Armour on kill, we discussed this earlier when we were at the bench, it's given us 193,000, which is exactly 10%. 200,000 armour on kill, it's not something to be sniffed at. It can be useful, and with the other sources of healing that we have, such as the catharsis and the medkits, it's going to keep us active while we're just sort of playing aggressive. Armour regen's nothing to write home about, and the skills is the gunner pulse and the shield. Okay, so how to use this build. To start off with, let's just find an enemy that we can get some stacks on. Named. Okay, so I usually go in, aim for like a robotic dog or a chungo, the biggest enemy that you can find first. What I do is go in with my shield open and my shotgun, and now we have a slight dilemma. Does this target have a head? If the answer is yes, we can shoot it in the head and pulse it, no problem. If it's a robotic dog, the enemy might not have a head, so we can use our gunner pulse as we run up and stun that enemy. Again, even if we don't have an enemy that has a head there, we can use the gunner pulse just to stun them and get some time to shoot them and them not shoot back. You can see that my shotgun will build full stacks, like I said, without even having to reload if we're in close enough. So that is the reason that we have the rock and roll. One thing to note is as well, our damage numbers may vary because as we take damage from the catharsis, our numbers will go up. Let's just get that as high as we can. Right, so what I'm going to do is, like I said, you'll come in and you'll shoot. Get your stacks back, and effectively then just switch to your assault rifle. So what I'm going to do is just change so we can get the talent. Let's go, let's say a boss. We'll just bring that nice and close to us. Okay, so you can see we're hitting for about 730,000. We're on health on a crit, and like I said, this allows us to get crits in the body and in the head. Okay. The main other things really is just the riot foam grenades that you can use to slow enemies down, and the big part of the reason that we've used this build, which is the thing that I've been trying to explain through, so please just bear with me. I find it hard to talk sometimes in these videos, but the counter to not getting 3 kills with the tenacity buff, and now we get 1 kill but we take damage. If we take damage in this time, we've dropped a heal on the floor, and we can also, so we take a little bit more damage. You can see that we're healing, and we may also have bonus armor stacks. So we have 2 ways of getting past that damage that's delayed. If we drop a heal on the floor, and then we grab some stacks. Let's get that tenacity buff. Perfect. This is the best way to show it. So now you can see that we have that healing cloud on the floor, and we also have those armor stacks, so when our tenacity buff runs out, okay, it's only eaten into the bonus armor, and we potentially may already have healing underneath. So that is my thinking to mitigate when you only get 1 headshot and you can't get the others and you still take that damage. It's going to allow us to still effectively just eat up that damage that's delayed. Alright guys, I hope that makes sense, and I'm sorry this one's taken a little bit longer to explain because there were a lot more moving parts with this build. Hopefully this is something you enjoy, and if you do replicate this build and go on to enjoy it, please give me a like and a shout in the comments that you've tried this build. Thanks so much for your ongoing patience. I do find it difficult to talk sometimes in these videos and I get a bit lost, so I appreciate your ongoing support. Thanks very much. Tropic Hippo signing out.